everyone, and welcome back to the Welcome Home Show. I'm Gina Romero, your host, author of the book, Welcome Home, A Guide to Homemaking from the Heart. And today I have a super special treat for us. I have Aleeza Ben Shalom, the creator of Matchmaker, featured on the Netflix series Jewish Matchmaking. I'm going to hold up her book for everybody tuning in on YouTube. Aleeza, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to let our listeners know that you're a renowned relationship coach and matchmaker. You shot to international fame as the star of Netflix's Jewish Matchmaking. You're also the host of the Matchmaker podcast. And to date, you have successfully helped over 200 people make their way down the aisle. And you've also trained over 350 matchmakers and coaches. That's amazing.
It's really incredible. It's such a blessing. The work that I do, I feel like it's very holy work, like to partner with God in bringing soulmates and bringing people together and building families and building communities. For me, it's just something that it creates community, and it's how we make the change that we need to see in the world.
Absolutely. Very well said. Now, you're originally from Philadelphia, but you now live in Israel. So yeah, you're coming to us just north of Tel Aviv. Love that. Amazing. As I mentioned in pre-show, I went to Israel in 2019, but only ever flew in and out of Tel Aviv. Otherwise, I was walking in Jesus's footsteps. Israel's amazing. And your climate is a lot like Southern California, where I'm from. There's lots of different little kind of microclimates going on in a relatively small geographic area. And then I think, another interesting note for our listeners is that you have 5 kiddos.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that could be I'll have to have you back for a whole nother episode on just...
I can totally give parenting hacks and tips. I'm going to give you one that's totally related to matchmaking.
Please.
Is now our children are between the ages of 12 and 22.
Yeah.
And when they were younger, and we have 3 boys that are at the end, they all had very similar, foot sizes. And with socks, always finding the right sock and matching, it's like a whole thing.
Gosh. Oh, yes.
Parenting hack, because socks are really soul, S-O-L-E, mates, not soul, S-O-U-L, mates. Soulmates. And my hack is this: each child gets a color. So one kid's socks were white, one was gray, and the other one was whatever, navy. And you buy 20 identical pairs of socks. There's no different colors, there's no different size, there's no nothing. 20 identical socks. It doesn't matter if you lose one. There's always another soulmate to pair them up with, and you know whose is whose by color. And that's it. You can't buy all white. If you buy white, then one has to have the short one and the other one has to have the long one. It has to be visually different. But if you have 20 different pairs, then after a year or year and a half, however long they make it, you dump all the socks, donate, do whatever you have to do, and start again. 20 fresh pairs. I'm telling you, I have lived by this for years, and it's literally, people are like, that's brilliant, but they're like, it's so boring. I'm like, it's so not boring. I never search for socks. It makes me so happy.
My mind is blown right now.
Right?
My gosh, because I only have one son, and yet the socks, and Aleeza, I'm going to shamelessly steal this. I will credit you, because socks are the bane of my existence, because this
even for adults, my socks, I buy 20 of the same exact pairs, except if I need like the long ones for my boots, then I buy 10 of those, like identical. And I literally as they're no good, we throw them away. And then I pray that the brand is still in existence later, so I can just refresh. But if not, if the brand isn't there, I'll dump and start again with 20 new.
Because you need your sanity. My gosh.
I mean, with that many kids, you're doing that many loads of laundry. And even with adults and this, and just, again, like walking around with mismatched socks, it's just annoying and it doesn't look cute.
My gosh.
So I just like life, like anything that I can do to make life easy, hack the system. It's the same way that my brain works with dating and relationships, where we're looking for compatibility, we're looking for things that match up and make sense, and there's alignment there. So this is just my basic mommy hack.
I love that. It is, I think, not basic. I think it's extraordinary, because And I was just talking to my mother-in-law yesterday because she found two of my son's socks under her couch and gave them to me. So now they're in my purse. And there is a graveyard of mismatched socks in my back seat. So I've got a little girl too, and it's, they're all his. It's just one kid, all these socks. He plays sports, and my gosh, this has just totally changed my life. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that. So matchmaking, talk to us about that. What got you started in that?
I was home and I was raising our first two children, and there was a lot of baby talk. And I thought I was like the mommy. I dreamed of being a homeschooling mommy. I used to have a play group in my house. We did a little bit of Montessori, like we were doing everything. And at a certain point, I was like, oh my gosh, I need, first of all, some adult conversation and not just, young talk. I think I'm losing my brain. I need to like level up. And second of
Yeah.
all, what could I do being a mother at home, but to give back to my community? And some, you can be involved with your children's groups. You can be on the parenting committee, and you can, make brownies for the bake sale. But I like wanted to do something just, I don't know, if it was more consistent, more regular. And a friend of mine who was also a young mother said like, I'm a matchmaker, like a volunteer matchmaker on this dating website. And I said, tell me more. She said, yeah, it's really wonderful. You get to meet people, you set them up. And so I started very organically and without much information, just becoming a matchmaker online and trying to work with singles. It was a database where singles don't search for themselves. Only the matchmakers search for you. So you upload your information and somebody else takes care of all of the effort. And that's how I organically fell into matchmaking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then came the frustrating part, which was that when you make a match, people often say no. And you're like, no, don't say no. This is a good idea. Let me explain to you why this is a good idea. And then I quickly realized that we had to get people's heads and hearts on the same page. And if I just made a match suggestion, it's almost like I served them, a drink and then, no, thank you, I want something else. No, thank you, I want something else. And they weren't receiving what I was sending. So I said, you know what? Let me talk to you first. Let me get your head and heart ready to receive what I'm sending. And then we'll try doing matchmaking. And I used to talk to people and coach them, almost like counseling with them, not therapy, but just having heart to hearts, listening to them. What do they want and what works for them and why, and just fleshing out a whole plan. And that was how I organically fell into coaching. And people said, oh, can I call you when I have a question? I said, yeah, but maybe they had a different matchmaker on the site. Why don't you call them? They're like, no. Nobody's
Yeah.
ever like nobody's doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you. I was like, sure, here's my number. When you start giving out your number left and right and just saying, call me. And I was home with young children. So they would take a nap. I would get on a phone. They would go to bed early. I would get on the phone. They would, if they went to school when they were younger, I would get on the phone. And I was constantly talking to singles. And it became a full-time volunteer position. Then we had another child. So then we had three. And then we had more bills. And my husband said, listen, we need you to work, not just be home with the kids, but do something. I'm like, I'm working. I'm a matchmaker. And he's like, no, I need you to have a job that pays, not just something volunteer. And he said, well, if you love this, just do this full time, like make it your full-time job. It can't be volunteer only. Everything that we do is the greatest kindness for our community, but you can also do it professionally. And I said, okay. So I got myself a business coach, and we talked about matchmaking. We talked about coaching and how could I build something around my family's life. Family was number one and work came as number two. And I started to just have sessions, and I couldn't even talk about how much I wanted to charge. I was so uncomfortable. It started, like very, very inexpensive, and has grown exponentially since then. And then it was like, I can't only do this myself. So then I started to train coaches. Then I started to train matchmakers. Then I assembled a team. Then I started writing articles. Somebody said, you have to write a book, because if you write a book, people know what you think. And if they know what you think, and they like it, then they're going to want to work with you. So I wrote a book, and then that introduced me to a much larger audience. Then I started writing for more people online, and it kind of had this snowball effect, a little bit like what you were talking about in your life. As you said, pre-show, there's this snowball effect that happens when you're kind of in divine alignment and you're
divine
helping
alignment.
and you're heading down a path that you're supposed to be going, the doors just
Yeah.
start to open and open and
Yes.
open. But it didn't
Flinging.
happen like
Yeah.
instantaneously.
Right.
It was like I've been doing this for years, since 2007 was when I started. So we're coming
Wow.
up on 20
20
years.
years. Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like, oh, amazing, she had her own
You didn't,
Netflix show
right. You didn't get
instantaneously.
it. Yes, exactly. At first, you were afraid to charge.
I had a
Yeah.
hard time saying like it cost $25 for us to have a conversation. It was like it made me so anxious.
Yeah.
And now we do this
Yeah.
professionally, full time.
Yeah.
I have full-time staff members that work with me. We have matchmakers, we have coaches, constantly writing articles. This is my latest book that's out. And yeah, and it's just a blessing. It's just when you
Oh
are
my
doing what you
gosh.
love, nothing greater than that. And like when I wake up in the morning, the energy, like I'm
Yes.
fueled by the energy of waking up, and I love my family and I love everything,
Yes.
and the only thing that I want to do is help other people do exactly what I did. Get married,
Yeah.
build a family, get engaged with your community, and help
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
create the greatest good in this world.
And oh
Yeah.
my gosh, so good. And you have just ministered to me because just last night my husband and I were like, what is happening here? Because I'm experiencing that this writing a book and starting a podcast and all of the things that I've been doing and now a second book and it's just mind blowing. But these doors have been flinging open. I never in my wildest dreams
Right.
would have thought about being on the radio, and I've been on the radio like 4 times, or TV. I can't say too much right now, but something is brewing with the television. And it's just wild. But where God guides, he provides, and I've always known that as like this nice, like adage to say, but and it's intense. But I love that you said, in terms of your priorities, family was number one and work came number two. I want to lean into that a little bit before we get a bit more into your beautiful book, Matchmaker. What, like, okay, so I'm going to ask for my own edification, but then I know that there are so many working wives and mothers that listen to this show, and this will benefit them too. When you are, so I'm going to ask you a question that knits together all of the things that we've just said. When family is your number one priority and you're so grateful to God for your family, and yet you need to work to earn income to help support the family because you got kids and kids are super expensive. Yet at the same time you're living in that divine alignment and God is flinging doors open. How do you manage it all? How do you balance it? If I could take you back, to, 18, 19, 20 years ago, how do you make sure that your family still feels that love when all of a sudden you've become engrossed in something that God's called you to, that, yeah, to your point, like you wake up with, passion, you're excited about it, it fuels you. How do you do that? Tell us.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And I think one of the baseline things is to know what are my values, and with
Mm,
my partner, with my husband, what do I want out of this? So if somebody's with a
mm,
partner, they need to make that decision together. If they are without a partner at this time in their life, then this is on them to choose the path forward. Something that my husband and I discussed was that we always wanted one of us to be home, raising the children, being with them.
okay.
We could have babysitters, we can have grandparents, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't sub it out full time to
Mm-hmm.
nannies.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I will say I was home full time, and things started to slowly shift through our my business, and as things started to
Yeah.
grow, and it was kind of like my husband was working 100% and I was home with the kids, and then
Uh-huh.
it went to 75-25, and then we kind of met in the middle at 50-50, which meant he
Wow.
started to cook some dinners and he was doing some other things to free me up so that I could work
Yeah.
nights, and we would kind of schedule around each other. And then at a certain point, and this is only recently, since 21, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, so in the last 5 years, at 4 to 5 years, we decided that he was gonna kind of like be on, we were calling it sabbatical, like, oh, you'll take a year off, and oh, I'm gonna go film a show for Netflix, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be traveling around the world, so somebody has to be home, so it'll be
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
then the second year after the show came out, it was like, "Oh, okay, so now I'm going to go on a world tour. So
Oh.
actually, I'm going to leave the house like every 3 to 6 weeks, and I'm going to be on the road for
Yeah.
1 to 2 weeks at a time," which was
Yeah.
to me mind blowing. I don't think I had ever even been away from my family for more than,
Wow.
I don't know, a weekend maybe, 2 days. Like
Yeah.
we had children every 2 years ish.
Yeah.
In the middle, we had a gap of 4 years, but basically, I had to have somebody either in me or nursing or holding on me. Like I was like that parent that would
Yeah.
co-sleep and I'd be with them and all the
Yeah.
time. And when our youngest was around 8, I started traveling more than I had ever traveled in
Yeah.
our entire marriage. And we really had to adapt and adjust. And we also came up with a plan and realized that if I'm away for 2 weeks and 2 weekends, it's too much. 2 weeks,
Ah,
like leave on
yes.
a Sunday through the
Mm-hmm.
weekend and come back before the following weekend.
Got it.
So two
Yeah.
full weeks, but only one weekend. We're like,
Yes.
okay, this can work. It's not like a
Ideal.
perfect.
No.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard when you have the mom away from the house and
Yes.
I've been the
Mm-hmm.
foundation for so long.
Yeah.
We'd had a lot of conversations about my husband, stepping up and transferring in the role to the role of being the main parent, and then how
Yeah.
do I acclimate when I come home, and how do I give
Wow.
attention to five
Yes.
children
Yes.
of varying ages and varying
Yes.
emotional needs.
Needs and yeah.
Yeah. And so we have a lot of things. My husband and I, for the two of us, we implemented date night on a weekly basis.
Date night. Yes. Do you do one date night per week?
We do one date night per week, but we
Okay. Yeah.
actually we actually do a double date. Meaning, like we know each other, we love each other, we're married 23 years. So we
Yeah.
like find another couple in the community. We're like, who do we want to get to know and hang out with that we
Oh,
don't ever see or we
nice.
only see at community events? Everybody leave
Okay.
your kids at home and let's go out and just be adults and hang out together and go
Okay.
get
Got
dinner.
it.
So it's like a
Got it.
double dinner date. We hang out,
Yeah.
we get to know another couple. We feel like adults. We don't talk about family, children, like that stuff is off the table. It's like
You're
us.
individuals. Yeah. As
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're like a couple again, which is really adorable.
I love
And we do
that.
that when I'm home. So it's like every
Oh.
week except, when I'm home.
Right. Right.
And then I try to also do either like a date night or a date day with the kids. Let's go out. Either we'll go grab a bite to eat, we'll go shopping to a store together, or we'll do an
Yeah.
activity and we'll spend time. And I'll try to do it one on one or small groups where I take 2 or 3 out instead of all of us together so
Yeah.
that the time feels a little bit more personal. And then I have to balance. Am I going to see them in the morning before they go to school? Usually
Yeah.
not anymore because I work late American hours in Israel. And so I'm often sleeping in the morning.
Yeah.
And either my husband gets the kids off or now they're old enough to get off to school themselves.
Yeah.
And then will I be there in the afternoon for them? Or will I see them at dinner? Or will I see them at bed? Like,
Got
when
it.
can we
Yeah.
schedule time in? So it started to be a really big deal about time management, which I think is
Yes.
an amazing skill that
Mm-hmm.
parents really need to have. And
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to balance, first of all, I need me time separate from work. I need work time. I need husband time. I
Right.
need children time.
Yeah.
There's many different types of things that we need. And I think as
Yeah.
people go through relationships, sometimes we're in a relationship, sometimes there's divorce or somebody passes and now we're on our own. And then sometimes we integrate somebody back into our life.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's all different stages we go through, especially as somebody who deals with people that are dating and at all different
Yeah.
relationship statuses.
Yeah.
We have to figure this out. But like the number one thing is, like on a plane, the oxygen mask comes down.
Yes.
You
Yes.
first. If it is not on you, you cannot help anybody else. You have to make sure that you are breathing, literally calmly breathing and in a safe, healthy space. And then you can go to tend
Yeah.
to other people. And I think that
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things I've learned as well. And I'll just give you another hack, vitamins. I'm 49 and I'm
Yes.
telling you, I live on vitamins and, I have, a nutritionist that I see and health and wellness, like keeping me at 100% functioning to the best of my ability is something that I
Right.
always have to work on because we're managing so many things and so many moving parts right now.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Really good advice. I love that. Yeah, we're going through that kind of a shift and figuring it out, and that's why I asked about date night because I told my husband, I said, because he works a lot too, and then I work a lot, so your whole like morning, noon, and night, I'll work when the little one goes to bed at night, and then sometimes she wants to sleep with me, and then I feel bad. I'm like, oh, I should be there for her because this is technically her time, but can she sleep without me, and all of this stuff. And so it's definitely a lot to manage, but I love that taking care of yourself first. And or just at the beginning of this year, I finally found a vitamin that I feel really really works for me, and it's specifically a woman's vitamin, whereas before I had taken just like generic adult. And honestly, I really feel the
It
difference.
makes it right. It makes life
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You know, and we all have those things. I'm a chronic pain sufferer. I have a severely degenerated disc in my back, and yet I'm in that weird space where I'm not yet a candidate for a disc fusion surgery. So we're trying to manage my pain right now. But yeah, health is wealth, and taking care of yourself first so that you can come to a place of just, what's the word I'm looking for? Peace with your family is so important because they can feel it when you're not. I know my family feels it. My husband picks up on it. He's very intuitive, and he can just totally tell if even I'm physically present but my mind is somewhere else. And it certainly adds a layer of complexity to things. So yes, choosing each other, choosing to live in the way that God would have you live. He basically, God's a God of order, taxonomy, and hierarchy. And so there's definitely a way in which we should be prioritizing our time. And I love what you said about values. What do I value? And I think that's going to actually really help me because I do value my family as number one, because without them, I mean, what? There's just not, a world in which I imagine that options. So I love that. That's awesome. Talk to me about your book. So I'm going to hold it up again for everybody on YouTube. Matchmaker, which I love. Big fan of Fiddler on the Roof over here. Seen the play, the musical, the movie, all that good stuff. So yeah, tell me, you talk about what truly matters to people in a match, mindset shifts that will help people recognize and squash any toxic thinking patterns that are keeping them stuck. Talk to about this.
So one of the chapters in there is called Rejection is God's Protection. And I was actually really happy because I didn't know if the publisher was going to let me leave God's name in, like God, to say God as opposed to just rejection is protection. Because a lot of people just say, oh, rejection is protection.
Yeah.
But I think one of the big mindset things is that we do understand that rejection is God's protection. That if the person that I'm seeing, if they say no, if it hurts, or if I have to say no, either way, it doesn't feel good, but it is in divine right order. It is for the highest good. It is exactly what we need in our lives, even if it doesn't feel good in that moment. It's divinely aligned to lead us to the right person, to do the right thing. So it never feels like that in the moment. And in the moment, we're always like, in a moment, like you're talking about your disc, like in physical pain. And sometimes even from a relationship breaking up, we feel pain, we feel nausea, we feel discomfort, we can't get out of bed, we feel depressed, we feel hopeless. There's so many things that we feel that really affect us. But when we actually tap in, who am I? What do I need to do in this world? What do I believe? What do I know? If I truly believe that God is guiding me and I believe that there's divine assistance in figuring these things out, then I have to know that a no is also for my greatest good.
Yes.
And it's okay to receive it and to say, a no is a blessing, because what comes from a no is clarity. And what's even harder than a no, because a no is hard and people don't like it, but what people really don't like is what I would call I don't know. It's not yes and it's not no. I mean, we're just dating because I don't know. I'm not sure. You're not sure. You're sure, but I'm not sure. Like one's in, one's out. And to live in a space of indecision, to live in a space of not knowing, I actually think is more painful than living through a no. A no hurts, but it's clarity. And I know. No, thank you. Move on. Not for you. I'm receiving a message that I have to understand. And it could just be right person, wrong time. So it could be not for you today. It could be something I have to revisit later. But for sure, I know if it's coming back as a no right now, I need to shift and do something different. And when I realize that and I tap into that, I can receive it as a blessing and say, thank you. Thank you for somebody having clarity, whether it was me or them. Thank you for sending the clarity so that I can move on and be able to look for my person. To me, Like, again, these are words. And so I'm saying it and you're listening, you're going, wow, that sounds so beautiful. Try that in real time. That is not so,
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is easy. This is the
Yeah.
hardest, one of the hardest things in the world is to search to find your person, but to go through all of the no's because it takes, I would say it's like 99% no's and 1% yes in
Yeah.
dating and marriage. So you're going to pick, if you dated 10 people, you'd pick one of 10. If you had dated 50, you'd pick one of 50. If you've dated 100 people, you'd pick one of 100, right? No matter how many people you're dating, you're picking one out of all of those people. And that same person has to pick you back.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the normal statistics of dating is that you will date the wrong person 99% of the time. And 1% it happens to be your person and yay, you get
Yes.
married and everything's wonderful. But you are always going to be dating the wrong person, and that's how you date the right way
Yeah.
because that's how
Okay.
we
Yeah.
figure it out. It's through this
Yeah.
process.
I love that. I love that. And knowing that going in on the front end is so important. Oh, that's great. I think of what Brene Brown says, that clear is kind. Yeah. When I was dating on a very, very popular Christian dating app before meeting my husband, and God was just shutting doors with a bang to the point, and it was so divine and palpable that I actually laughed with the nose, like I just, because I knew it was God saying no. And then I went to Israel and on a study trip, and I came back, and I remember being on the Sea of Galilee in a boat, and I just reaffirmed to the Lord that I will wait on you for the man that you have for me. And I came back, and within a week met my husband.
Wow. Wow. I remember when I was dating, I was also on a dating site and I was looking through prospects and I have this very logical mind. I have like a very open heart and a warm heart and I have a very logical brain as well. And I'm looking through the site and I narrow the search options until only 4 people are presented. The
Oh,
four
okay.
most relevant people according to every box that I ticked. And I was like, oh, wow, you really narrowed this down. And I'm looking at the list going, that's it. This is like, these are the 4. So I looked at the 4 and I picked one of the 4 and I was like, okay, this is a great pick, a great option. I write to him, like, and I write paragraphs. They didn't limit you by what you could write back then. And he writes back a really heartfelt, beautiful letter. And he said, I don't think you realize that you're not just on a spiritual journey, you're on a more religious journey. And I'm only on a spiritual journey without the types of practices that you're looking to do. And we are not aligned. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't understand. I searched the whole site. You're the only one. Like, and it was like I came up against a brick wall because
Yeah.
he was so clear in who he was. And he knew even better because I was on a growing path
Yeah.
and he realized that we were really not on the same path, even though I thought that we were.
Yeah.
And that rejection for me, like that was totally God's protection. That was not my person. If I would have been with
Yeah.
somebody like that, we would have had to get divorced because we really were
Oh,
heading down
wow.
2 separate
Yeah.
paths. And then when I started to date and I met my husband, it became so clear. I was like, oh, this is what that guy was talking about. He knew, he was my dating coach. He knew better than I did.
Yeah.
And it was so clear when I met my husband that we were on the same path and we were going in the same direction and we wanted to build the same lifestyle and we had the same beliefs and the same value system. And it just became so obvious. But before it wasn't so obvious. I thought the other thing was also obviously the right person and it
Yeah.
couldn't have been more wrong.
Oh my
So
gosh.
sometimes the other person has the clarity before you do.
Yeah.
And it's okay to realize that rejection is God's protection and we have the ability to receive wisdom from all different places and all different types
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, God definitely uses other people, to as his mouthpiece at times. I have been living in that a lot lately myself. So as we come up to the end of our time together, can't believe it. I'll have to have you back on, and we'll it's like one piece of advice you may give for someone who's single that's listening in.
The number one thing that I love people to know and remember and really take to heart is that your person is here. They're in this world, they are living, they are breathing, they exist, and you have the ability to find them. And don't let anybody tell you anything different. If they tell you something different, they just don't know matchmaking as well as I do. Your person is here. You can find them. If you need a break, take a break. If you need support, find a community. If you want training on how to do things, call me. We can work together. I really would like to support your community and really help people to develop matchmakers within the community. It's something that we in our community do very regularly, and that I've seen in the Christian community. It's not like the popular in thing to do, but it's totally a community-based activity that I think needs to just start to flourish. So if anybody wants to get into matchmaking, or anybody wants to learn for themselves, this is my area of expertise. I do this full time. We have, programs and courses and one-on-one and training, and I would just love to help people, and never, ever, ever give up hope. Your person is here. Even if you had a soulmate and they passed, or there was a divorce, you can find them. If you never found them, you can find them at any age, at any stage. Nobody ages out of love. You have the ability to.
Thank you so much for those amazing words of encouragement. All right, everyone. So you can find Aleeza Ben Shalom at aleezabenshalom.com. That's AleezaBenShalom, AleezaBenShalom.com. Thank you so much for being with us, Aleeza. You're amazing.
Thank you so much for having me, Gina.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. And everyone, as I always like to say, it's not goodbye, it's bye for now.